Broadcasting from the Merritt Hall Studios out of Carson City, Nevada. You're listening to Covering the Field with Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, and Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field. I'm Joe Ellison, and with me today are my amazing colleagues, Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. Guys, let's begin, as always, this time of year with football. Big Rich, what happened during Week 7 of the National Football League?
Well, the season is 7 weeks in, Joe, and we have a Jekyll and Hyde season. One week they look good, one week they look bad. We just got to figure it out. We're 2 months into the season. We should be able to get a grip of who's doing good and who's not. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers dropped 2 in a row. How does that happen?
Exactly. As far as Tom Brady, well, I guess we should take them one at a time. But Tom Brady, I just don't think his mind is where it's supposed to be. And what I really saw from Tampa Bay was their tackling. They just did not look like they were at 100% trying to get.
Not trying their hardest?
Yeah, I guess
I couldn't say that. I just say it's just poor fundamentals. I think that we look at Tampa Bay, they're the Broncos of the South. I mean, they're the top 5 in defense and worse than offense.
Well, I'll tell you what's worse here, Big Richard, is that the public, they're still believed in Tampa Bay this week. And we had, Caesars had a bettor that had 19,000 on Tampa Bay. Then 5 minutes later, turned around and put another 19,800 on them at a minus 700.
Ooh, the money line.
So he put on 38,800 to win 5,400 and still lost.
He didn't just lose; he lost 21-3.
So the public still believes in him, but to me,
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Look at Carolina. We said they were a dumpster fire, and I think the dumpster fire is a little bit more south, all the way in Tampa Bay. I mean, how could you be that bad? I mean, Evans drops a perfect pass. I mean, that could have changed the whole outcome of the game. But Christian McCaffrey gets traded last week to San Francisco, and you think that they're just tanking for their quarterback. And P.J. Walker just comes in and just controls the game perfectly. And the coach the new coach just put out that he's going to be the starter even when Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold come back. He's the starter. We're going with P.J. all the way.
Well, as far as Green Bay goes, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. They can't do nothing with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is going to be there. I think it's more about...
He looks miserable, Gator. He looks miserable out there.
But...
For $50 million a year, he shouldn't be feeling that.
I know. I mean, give a guy a pat on the back and say, why don't you get the next one?
But
But no, he's out there calling him out on his talk show. He's saying that
it's not his
people
fault.
need to be benched.
But the Packers have never really helped him out. Have they? I mean, over the years. No. Think about it.
He's spoiled out there, and that's what happens when you give all the power to the player. You're right. It's a trap.
Time to get a receiver. We have 1 week before the trade deadline.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So they're talking about Jerry Jeudy.
There you go.
He had a great game.
Why would the Broncos give him up? He's a first-round pick, and they're talking about a second-round pick. Why would you? I mean, you get a first-round pick.
Well, I can't figure out the Broncos right now either. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing, like you were saying.
Right.
What do you do at the Broncos?
I mean, they have this great defense, and they can't do nothing with it. All we needed was a quarterback, right? All we needed was a quarterback.
Go down on Colfax, pick somebody up. That's what we were doing for how many years now? We finally get one, and I'd rather go get one.
Ripping ain't the answer. I can tell you that, man. I mean, he couldn't hit the barn with a football. I don't know.
He couldn't hit a football with the broadside of a barn.
Something like that.
Something like that. I mean, my goodness, man. I mean, anyway, the NFC South is the sucky South. I mean, they're the 3-4. I mean, Carolina trades their best player, and they end up only being a game out of first, and they have the tiebreaker with Tampa Bay because they beat them. So actually, they're half a game. So the sucky South.
Atlanta tied for first.
They get smashed by Cincinnati, and then what are they? They're tied for first. Yeah. How does that happen? NFC West is the Seattle's the best in the West.
Oh, Geno. How can you go wrong with Geno right now? He's just making their best decisions.
Playing decent defense,
yes.
Controlling the game perfectly. I think if we go, the NFC and AFC East is the beast of the league. What do you say there, Joe?
Without a doubt, record-wise for sure.
The G-Men.
Can't argue.
The G-Men and the Team Green, Gang Green, goes out there and gets road wins this week. I mean... when you win any week on the NFL, they're exactly. I think they might be for real. The Pats are in last.
Well, that's the one team that doesn't look good at all. Chicago beat them by almost 3 touchdowns.
Right.
You guys, as far as that goes, Caesars reported taking 6 bets of $1,000 or better on Bailey Zappi to win Rookie of the Year after he came in for Mac Jones. Now, the largest was $3,000 at 16-1, but the odds were 60-1 before all that.
And then everybody's yelling, Zappy, Zappy, Zappy. They thought he comes in from the game. Talk about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. What about Justin Field? He converts 11 out of 18 third downs, and 10 of them he did himself.
Yeah.
And then he led the team in rushing with 82 yards and 100 yards passing. I mean, they outrushed the Patriots 243 to 70 yards in rushing last week. So, I mean, they ran the ball. We showed you that the Bears are the worst rushing team. How does Belichick just really... I mean, he laid an egg on Monday night. That's all you can say is, I mean, Belichick goes out there and how do you sit Mac Jones? How can you bring him back in after? I mean, sure. I mean, he might have had a little rust on there, but I mean, he has not done great this season. He's rated 34 in quarterback numbers.
Yeah, there's only 32
and there's
teams.
only 32 teams. So that's how bad
Exactly.
he's doing. All right. So I mean, they thought Zappy came in, throws 2 touchdowns, and man, they had the second coming of Christ with Brady. They thought they had another Brady on their hand, and he's a rookie.
Crazy.
He has a lot to learn, but I don't know what they're going to do. I see him staying with Mac Jones. I think they're going to go with Mac Jones.
That's the first round pick. I think they'll go with him too. And Zappy will come off the bench due to the dismay of the fans who are going to be screaming for him the entire time.
And it's not Tom Brady, New England. He is not Tom Brady. I mean, that was you got a 6th round gift there from the heavens with Brady.
One last note, as far as last week's game, Cincinnati, I mean, Joe Burrow, 480 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think they're back now.
Oh, they're back. I mean,
Back
you
to
can
where they
tell
were.
that he had that injury and he just seemed a little bit off. And then I think Jamar Chase, making yards after catch. I mean, just looks he has a different gear out there. I mean, Burrow looked like he was so comfortable. He looked like the Burrow of last year, and I think that we saw that they're going to start taking over them, and the Ravens are going to take over that the North Division of the AFC.
Well, I'm going to say the Bengals look better than the Ravens, even though they're tied at the top of the division.
I mean, the Ravens, like you said, they've had double-digit leads in every one of their
Right.
games. And as soon as they get a double-digit lead, go out there and do your in-play because they're going to give up some points.
Right.
Do it every week. They did it again this week. They only won by 3.
Yep.
I should have did an in-play on that.
Okay. The last note from last week, not about football so much as Mike Evans and a referee after the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So they went to the same college. So this is what they're saying. Is obviously he signed something. He said that they went to the same college and he wanted to get his number for a golf pro so he can have his number so he can get him signed up with a Golf Pro Am or something like that. So that's what their excuse is. It doesn't look good. I don't think you can write your number down that fast. I mean, whatever, it looked bad. It looked bad. It looked like an autograph to me.
Yeah, I think they're lying about that. This golf pro lessons thing, I don't believe it.
I know. I mean,
It's too fishy.
I mean, if they're not even going to let the girl out of the Russian prison for, I mean, what they're holding them
For 9
for. I
years.
mean, saying that, yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
Yeah, terrible.
terrible. I mean, that's guilty.
Okay. Looking forward now. We should look forward to week 8. What's the latest injury and player news? You touched on Christian McCaffrey being traded. Gosh, he's
Right.
already, our last show hadn't even been traded yet, and now he's already played in a game.
Right. This is the injury report or take a seat on the bench report. We'll start with Matt Ryan. You got both. He has a sprained shoulder and he's been replaced. Coach for Indianapolis. Frank
Reich.
Freaking Frank Reich.
Frank Reich.
Yeah, he comes out there.
He has quarterbacks every year, every half a year. He's got a
Right.
new quarterback.
Right, and I thought that was a stand-up call to say, hey, this guy's thrown 11 interceptions, 11 forced fumbles, worst quarterback in the league by far by turning the ball over, and they're going to go with Sam Ellinger. What's up with Sam Ellinger? He used to play for Texas, and he had over 1,000 yards rushing, and so I think they want a little bit more mobile quarterback.
That offensive line wasn't what it was all cracked up to be. Jonathan Taylor not running the ball, Matt Ryan getting killed out there and turning over the ball. So get some guy who's got some legs and can run for his life.
I think they want to keep a mobile quarterback, maybe move him out of the pocket and get him rolling. Maybe something will happen there. What about
Nothing to
Tua
lose.
Tagovailoa?
Oh my gosh, you got the name right.
Well, I have to thank my beautiful wife for that. We were watching the Sunday night game, and she put it on her Google Speak because we couldn't get Tua Tagovailoa right, so we just got that, and we have a little tune for you if you're having a hard time saying it. Just say, it's Tua Tagovailoa. He plays a quarterback, and he got sacked, or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, that's how I remember it.
He got a concussion.
He got a concussion because he got knocked out.
All right.
But anyway, that's how I remember it. And my California high school education, that's as good as you're going to get, folks. But you being a college graduate from Sacramento State, I mean.
Well, yeah, we're going to get into that.
They
were on TV the other day.
They were on TV.
Yeah.
Exactly. It wasn't even Apple TV. It was actually on TV. Okay, another one who's going to be PJ Walker. Like we just said, he's going to be the starter. Take a seat. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, they're the $1 million bench warmers. So we got that. Ryan Tannehill. He is in a walking boot. He had an ankle injury. So we got Malik Willis coming in. We'll see if he gets to play. I mean, I think we said week 8 he would be starting. I think that's what we said at the beginning of the year. And he'll probably be starting. But he's not that Tannehill's playing bad. No,
the walking boot, that's just precautionary, I'm sure. It's not like he's going to be out.
Well, yeah. I mean, he is a immobile quarterback anyway. Now he's going to be even less movement in that pocket. So I think that they put Malik in there and he looked like a deer in the headlights. He couldn't even hand the ball off.
Yeah, he dropped that one hand off, and that almost cost him covering the spread.
Right. Yeah, thank you for not giving it up that bad, Malik. For all of us that bet on Tennessee, Breece Hall, ACL out for the year. That would have been your rookie of the year by far.
Yeah.
Now, how much? That's where you should have put your money there, Gator. I think that he was definitely on his way for rookie of the year.
Well, he saved some money now.
Yeah, exactly. So hey, Zappy, we still got a chance. So you tell me we got a chance.
And they traded for James Robinson to hopefully take up some of that slack.
Right. I mean, immediately after that. So you can see the Jets are all in. They're thinking they're a playoff team and they're going to make it, and they're sitting in second place right now.
They look like one.
They look nice.
Their defense looks really good. Mike Williams has a high ankle sprain.
For the Chargers?
Chargers wide receiver. And, knowing with a high ankle sprain, you cannot cut. That's a big thing for receivers making their cuts on their routes. So he'll be out for 3 to 6 weeks, I imagine, with that high ankle sprain. You're not just he can run the fly pattern, but he's not going to be able to make any cuts on that ankle.
And J.C. Jackson's their corner that they got from the Patriots, who wasn't playing that great anyway, done for the season.
Right. So
that's
he's out, and then DK Metcalf had a knee injury. He looked really bad. He got carted off, and it came back negative on the MRI. So that's good
Seattle.
for him. For Seattle, wide receiver. Alan Lazard, the only person that could catch on the Green Bay team, is now out with a shoulder injury. So
remember I was saying, if you and me went out there, we'd Aaron Rodgers would probably look good because
Yeah.
Well, those guys they got over there aren't as good as you and me because they have 10 drop balls the last 2 weeks. They can't catch it.
And Daub, our guy up here from Nevada, Wolfpack's out there.
Dobbs,
he didn't get that Dobbs. He couldn't get that first down. I mean, that should have been that was a 3rd and 1, and
he wasn't expecting a guy to be standing there waiting to hit him.
Right.
In practice, nobody was there. It was fine.
Daniel Bellinger is out with a broken eye socket, so he actually took it for
that was bloody. That was a bloody mess. That was I couldn't imagine what a broken eye socket would feel like. But,
I know. Well, we can send our condolences here for covering the field to you.
Alvin Kamara could probably, his victim could probably tell you about that.
Exactly. Did he just come out of an elevator or just got smacked? I don't know. And then Njoku
David Njoku is out for Cleveland also.
Yes,
the tight end.
He'll be out for 3 weeks. Okay, so there's your injury report.
All right.
And the picks 3-3 last week. I think like everybody, I have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I don't know what we're going to get at, so I'm sitting even for the season.
I've got some stats I need to share with everybody.
Okay.
Be patient here. Taking a look at last week's games, point spread wise, the trends continued. 8 underdogs and 6 favorites covered. 6 dogs won outright, and 5 road teams won. That's now 65 underdogs and 43 favorites that have covered. 43 underdogs have won straight up, and so have 46 road teams. Only 13 teams are above 500, and 12 teams are above 500 against the spread, and out of 32 teams. Okay. So
the dogs. We're saying the dogs and the unders.
It just keeps happening.
The butcher give you those information?
Yes, the butcher. We have to thank Butcher the Butcher. The overs and unders, 7 games went over, 7 went under. That's pretty good for the over, the way the season's been going. Still, that leaves us currently at 64 unders, 44 overs, And here's a really interesting stat. Division games have gone 25 unders and 10 overs.
All right.
So when teams from the same division meet, that's
Look for a
over
lower
2-1.
game. Right.
Because they know each other, I guess.
I was thinking about that game, man, how bad, the Patriots smashed Detroit. And,
29-0.
Right. And then, I was thinking we were all giving all the credit to Belichick, but what was the coach that was on Detroit before, who's now the offensive coordinator?
For who?
For the Patriots.
Patricia.
Matt Patricia, yes, with his pencil in his ear.
Yeah.
He probably knew that Detroit in and out. And I think that was the reason that they dominated so much. I think we give all the credit to Belichick, but I think Patricia knew his players, knew who he had on their team, and knew their weaknesses.
Yep, you might be onto something there.
I agree.
As far as teams specifically, the best over teams have been Las Vegas, New Orleans, Cleveland, and Detroit. The most consistent under teams, Tampa Bay, Denver, and Indianapolis. They're 6 out of 7 games under.
Yeah, I mean,
Buffalo,
Denver goes under every week. I mean, they're 8-0 or 7-0 on under games.
Yeah, well, I guess they had one that went over. Oh, the Raider game, the 32-23 game or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, the Raiders went over. They did.
Buffalo and the Rams are 5-1 under. So,
okay.
Well, and thanks again to Butch the Butcher for all those great statistics there.
All right.
Okay, so having heard all that, what are your predictions for this week, Big Rich?
Okay, I'm going to go with Tua Tagovailoa. Now that I can say his name correctly. Seriously, he's 4-0 as a starter. I mean, I'm really surprised they didn't hit that. I did predict they would go under last week on the Miami-Pittsburgh game, saying he'd be a little rusty, and he did not look rusty at all. I mean, he had a great first half. I just think Pittsburgh's defense is playing better. And, I mean, no points in the second half at all. I mean, I can't believe that at all. So the under definitely hit. So I'm going to take the Miami +3 at the Lions. I think that he's a 4-0 as a starter. I'm going to ride the Tua train. I like what Miami's doing. The Lions just find a way to lose every week. And definitely the offense got stifled last week with Dallas. And I think Miami comes into Detroit and gets a win.
Okay.
All right.
You got some more, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm Jets, Jets. I'm riding with the Jets at home. The Patriots have a quarterback controversy going now. You got Cloudy. And usually when the Patriots lose, they normally come back and just smack you around. But, I mean, I like Zach Wilson, the way he's playing. I like what defense is playing. They're going to play them 2 in the next 3 weeks. So the Jets are they're either going to make it or break it right here. So
and they're at home, like you said.
They're at home, and their defense is playing great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Also being at home, I'm going to go against the Butcher on this one. I like the Bills at home against Green Bay. They have nobody to throw it to. The Bills are number 1 in defense. 11.5. Drop to 11.5. Take the Bills. Josh Allen's going to smash. And we'll see, Aaron Rodgers continue his pouty face on football.
Didn't he just say that this could be the best thing that's going to happen to him all year is going up to Buffalo this week?
Yeah, okay. We'll see. Good luck with that, buddy. All right, I'm taking the Bills.
Fair enough.
All right, good. Minnesota -3.5 at home against Arizona. First half. Take the first half away with Minnesota. We already talked about Arizona's struggles in the first half. The Butcher put that out. They've hit the under out of, I think, 6 out of 7 in the first half. Minnesota usually starts out strong. I see them coming off the bye week and being able to cover it. First half, Minnesota. All right. Cincinnati -3 at Cleveland. Cleveland's just got smashed by the Patriots. Lost again last week. Cincinnati -3. Burrow's back. He'll be smoking a cigar out there in Cleveland after the game. And sorry about that, dog pound people, but looks like you're gonna have a tough game here. If you give up 38 to Bailey Zappi, you got Joe Burrow coming in town right now, and they're looking good. All right. And then my under-over pick, I like Chicago-Dallas going under the 42.5. I'm pretty sure that they'll be able to get some pressure and be able to tackle. Justin Fields, I mean, he just ran crazy. I mean, it just seemed like how many missed tackles did you see? The Patriots never missing tackles. They were getting to the quarterback, but they couldn't put him on the ground. I see him going to the ground this week, so I like Dallas on that under. I like the Dallas in that game going under.
All right. Gator, did you have a pick or two you want to throw in there?
Sure. To start off with, it's hard for me to disagree with everything anything that Big Richard said. I agree with everything. The only thing I could really add to that is I like New Orleans over Vegas, and I like Jacksonville to beat Denver. They're in Jacksonville.
So they're actually in London.
They're in
London.
So you're telling me the Broncos got a chance? Maybe if they win, they will play all their games in London.
The Broncos don't have a chance because they don't have I don't know. Denver doesn't have discipline. They don't have identity. They don't have, and Jacksonville does.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that Russell will be playing.
Yeah,
so,
but you're right.
Jacksonville should have the home field advantage. Very popular there in London.
Exactly.
It's going to be like a home game.
And the Broncos will be sporting their new uniforms. I guess they have some new uniforms. So they can't play well. They're going to look well, I guess.
Burn them. They'll probably burn them like the 1960s jerseys.
Better to look good than to feel good, darling.
Exactly.
All right.
So that's the NFL.
All right. Well,
You have your
right
picks,
on.
Joe?
you guys might not have noticed, but I went a perfect 4-0 last week.
Man, I know you hit that Giants in the second half. Just bet Giants second half every week, huh?
I just bet the New York teams, the Jets and Giants.
Right.
And along with Tennessee and the over in the Atlanta-Cincinnati game. I also had the under in that Jets game, but that was not one of my official picks, so we'll just say that was 4-0. Over the last 5 weeks, my spread picks have gone 15-4.
All right, man. That's what we're talking about. You're the
79%, folks. Not bad. This week, I like San Francisco minus the 1.5 at the Rams. You can't really explain why or how. It just keeps happening. San Francisco, 7 straight regular season wins against the Rams.
Right.
I don't even have to put any thought into it.
Well, their defense is pretty banged up. They got exposed. San Francisco did get exposed last week with the cornerback and their safety out. And also, the Rams coming off a bye week, give McVay another week to strategize some stuff and, get a little bit healthy. So that might be in favor of the Rams.
It just seems the Niners try a little harder or get a little more physical against the Rams. Like they can out-physical them, and that's their advantage. I'm taking Tennessee minus 2 at Houston. I see a pretty big game for Derrick Henry. He owns Houston in the past. We'll see about the quarterback situation for Tennessee, but that's not what's going to win. I'm trying the New York Giants again, plus 3 at Seattle. I know Seattle's playing well. Yes, they're in first place, but the Giants a little bit better of a team and getting 3 points. And finally, a total, I'm going with Denver and Jacksonville to go under 39 points. We talked about how pathetic Denver's offense is, and they're going with Brett Rippon at quarterback. And Jacksonville, they've had some clunkers too on offense. I think they only scored 7 against Houston, and so the English fans aren't going to be too happy with the performance on the field.
The excitement out there with the
And
10-7 game.
As a reminder, that is a 6:30 in the morning game here on the West Coast in London, so you might want to bet that the day before.
Exactly. Because the books don't open that early here in Denver.
Well, we are opening at 6 o'clock here, believe it or not. Yeah. We must now move on to the colleges. What were the big stories from last week's action in the NC2A football?
Well, I mean, Alabama bounces back. I mean, they seem to, I just said out there, Nick Saban, I don't think you can out-coach your DBs. And what was I thinking?
What the were you thinking? Stop!
Nick Saban owns Mississippi. He owns Mike Leach. Make that 15 in a row for Alabama over Mississippi. It was 2006 the last time that they had a win against Alabama. So, I mean, obviously, it might not be after the game. Even Mike Leach said it's not the players. It's you're afraid of the logo when you see that out there. It's dominatory over them.
Tennessee had lost like 17 in a row to Alabama and overcame that. But, of course, back-to-back weeks.
Okay, well, you can't Mississippi State. Okay, well, we'll give some credit to Alabama, but they did have 10 penalties for 100 yards to Alabama had 3 penalties for 30 yards. So the non-disciplined drop balls, they're 33% on third down efficiency during the game, and they were 50% on fourth downs with drop balls. Never kicked the field goals when they had the chance to get some points, maybe get a little bit of momentum. And, I mean, you talk about red zone efficiency. Alabama was 4 for 4 when they were inside the red zone. So they're getting it done. Tennessee, we got to look at them. Tennessee had a big game. They dropped 65 on
Tennessee Martin.
Tennessee Martin,
Any relation?
Well, hope not, because they got smashed. But I mean,
I'll say they did score like 20-something points.
And I want to say that Tennessee has been giving up, at least, they give up 24 points and 300 yards passing. So watch that when you're betting. Probably bet the overs. I'm probably sure they're going to be in the 70s for high 60s and 70s every time Tennessee plays because, Hooker looks great, Andrew Hooker looks great, and their wide receiving core is just amazing, and they're getting healthier. They got some guys coming back. So
Hooker's definitely a Heisman candidate now.
I think that They have the game next week. That's the one they have. I think they have Georgia next week. So it might be a trap game for them this week. So be careful with that. Oregon beat up UCLA. You're talking about physical team. They just went out there and physicality. UCLA couldn't stop them, and they were definitely. Oregon was definitely the better team and probably the best team in the Pac-12 right now. Okay. TCU moves to 7-0. They beat Kansas State 38-28. So let's give the Horned Frogs a little bit of respect. They should be moving up in the rankings. I think they're 8 now.
They should be ranked ahead of Alabama, in my opinion. But
okay, Joe. If Alabama was playing TCU, we had to make a bet, money line bet. Who are you betting?
I'm going to take TCU right now.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to take TCU. Why not? If Tennessee could beat them, why not TCU?
Well, you're going to have to they had to put 52 points up to beat them.
Yeah, well, so TCU would have to be home, too.
They would have to be at home, and, you do have the new red rifle in there. He looks good out there. So.
He looks really good.
So, what about the big game I thought was Clemson and Syracuse? Cade Klubnik comes in, the kid from Austin, Texas, the 5-star recruit. He replaced DJ Ugalele, or he played Ugalele. He had 2 interceptions and a fumble. It was scooped up for a 90-yard return. So what does Dabu Swinney do? He brings in the kid from Texas, goes out there in Death Valley, and Lazarus, the team out of Death Valley, they were down by 14 points, and he comes back and gets a win. He goes down there for an 80-yard, comes back and runs back in there, gets the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. Debo Swinney says we're sticking with DJ. Mm-hmm. After the game, he had his nice pink suit on, and I'm like, my goodness, can you look at 2 streaming coaches? You got Nick Saban, not smiling, and you got, look like Pimp Daddy Debo out there in his pink suit out there. I can't understand it, but he's a very happy man. I can say that.
National Breast Cancer Month.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I know that, but still, hey, wear a pink tie. You have to wear the whole thing, But anyway, he was very flashy, and he said he's staying with D. He just said, hey, just like pitchers, they have a slow day, have a bad day out there. DJ had a bad day, but he's our starter. I don't know why you would go back. DJ. He thought he was just going to be there for 2 years. You got this kid, Cade Klubnik. You only have 2 years with that guy. You only have 2 years with him. They're going to go to the NFL after they play 2 years, and a certain age they can go out. So he's definitely not a redshirt freshman. He's an 18-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid just coming out of high school, and he was a 5-star recruit. So you got to give these 5-star. DJ was Ugalele was a 5-star recruit out of California. But the better quarterback and more, he's able to scramble. I think it's going to be. He's going to have a short leash. I can guarantee you that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I do have to mention my alma mater, Cal State University at Sacramento.
Right.
Or you can call them Sac State if you want.
Sac State.
Did beat Montana.
The Hornets.
The Hornets. Never have I ever seen them on regular season national television, but it happened. They did do a playoff game on TV and got beat last year, but they're undefeated. And they're ranked like number 3
but
in the
they're
nation.
not FBS, right?
No, that's the... below.
They're not bowl. They're not bowl.
No, they're going to be
in the championship
playing teams like James Madison last year, who just moved up and stuff like that. But yeah. So what you got, Gator?
Okay, well, Caesars reported they had a bettor that put $120,000 on Arkansas State at +7, $110,000 on Nevada +7, $110,000 on West Virginia +6. $110,000 on Syracuse +14, and on North Texas at a +10. All those did lose. But it wasn't totally bad for him, I guess, because he did win on Duke +10 and Florida International +14.5. Both were at 110,000.
Well, what was the spread though? Because didn't Clemson it was 27-21, wasn't that? So that would have.
So Syracuse was one of his winners actually.
For +14.
Yeah, so he hit that.
So he lost about 500,000.
Right.
Yeah, that's about all.
Yeah, that's all.
The only other stat I got you guys is that the Pac-12, their home favorites are 33-1 outright, and 23-10-1 against the spread.
Wow.
So watch those Pac-12s.
Oh,
That's
good.
Very strong.
Very strong. I wish I had that information before my picks. Or I definitely shouldn't have took them last week with UCLA going up there laying an egg up there.
Yeah.
In,
Oregon. Speaking of your picks.
One more thing. You guys were talking about Hooker over here. He's 2-1 to win the Heisman, but they still have C.J.
Stroud.
Stroud.
He's got
minus 105.
Minus 105.
Yeah.
Should've
So I
gone
think
with
right
that
now
too.
going into it, you got to look at. I think Clemson has the best shot. The easiest road to the Final Four to make it in there.
ACC is super weak.
Right. So Alabama loses again, they'll be out. Georgia has some tough games. They're going to have to play. They're also going to have to play Alabama.
Georgia plays Tennessee.
And they play Tennessee in a week. So
Yeah, that's going to be really tough. But there's going to be a couple of really good teams that are going to have 2 losses and not make the national championship.
TCU's coming in. Horned Frogs are coming in late, man. They're coming in late.
If they're undefeated, they belong in there.
Yeah, it's like Cincinnati did last year, and got smashed.
Well, they're great to watch.
Well, they
Either
might
way.
get smashed, but at least they get in there.
Right, okay.
They need some respect. And so let's see what we got. What do we got to look forward to this weekend? I know there's a couple games. I know Michigan State. That's a good rivalry. And Kentucky, Tennessee is going to have a whiteout. I guess that might be interesting. Maybe Kentucky can pull off. That's a pretty big upset. Tennessee would have to be looking forward.
Well, Tennessee's aren't they at home? I think the Penn State's Tennessee's at home, and then
Tennessee's at home.
The whiteout's going to be in Penn State. Penn State will have the whiteout against Ohio State.
Penn State's the whiteout.
Yes.
Okay. And
well, you're just telling me you can't respect a horned frog. I just don't understand that. It's a scary animal. Okay.
Yeah, they're hard to find. They're on the endangered species list.
Exactly.
And you got to be careful with those. And Florida, Georgia, the largest outdoor cocktail party.
Okay.
Do they still call it that? It's probably not proper to call it that anymore.
I'm drinking. They'll be drinking some cocktails, I guarantee it.
Yeah,
for that,
regardless of what you call
what
the
it is. Right. So we'll go into those games. We'll start with that Georgia game. Georgia has 24 rushing touchdowns. It's only given up 1. And they've only given up 5 touchdowns all year. So Georgia, they have played some weaker teams, but the spread opened at 17, and now it's at 22.5. I have to take Florida to 22.5. I think that's just too many points. Like you were talking about, this a division game. Remember last year when Florida went in there and gave Alabama a good run for their money, and I think they'll do the same thing. I don't know if they'll win, but 22.5 is way too much. I'm taking Florida to 22.5.
Okay.
We'll talk about the Dome team. Syracuse minus 2.5 at home in the Dome against Notre Dame. Notre Dame has wins against North Carolina, who they beat Boise State or something like that. They're UNLV. The only really team, North Carolina, is the only one in the top 25. They're top 20. They're in 21 of the nation. But Syracuse should have won last week. They played good defense. They're going to cover that. The Orange are going to be running on the field just like we predicted last week. Oklahoma State, the Orange ran on the field after the Texas win. Syracuse in the Dome. We're going to take the Orange.
All right. I'm sure you got more than that.
Absolutely. The picks were 3-3 last week, but still over the 60% mark. Way better than some of the mothership. There might be a bear out there or two picking wrong, but we're picking them right here. Ohio State minus 15.5 at Penn State. Penn State got exposed by Michigan. I don't see them being able to stop C.J. Stroud. 16 points for Stroud is no problem at all. If J.J. McCarthy can run it up on you, I guarantee you that Stroud, and we do have Henderson, what did come up a little bit lame on a hamstring last week, but their backup came in there. Williams did really well. I could continue to run the ball. Ohio State just annihilated Iowa last week. They couldn't even get past the 50-yard line. They had 4. Their defense played so good. They had 4. The first 4 drives were inside the 50-yard line. They were playing on a half a field, and they couldn't even complete a pass. They didn't get a first down until late in the second quarter. Ohio State continues to roll. I know that they usually play Ohio State good, Penn State with their wideouts, but I just don't think they have the personnel to compete with Ohio State in the coaches poll. They're the number 1 team in the nation.
Yeah, they deserve that for sure. They are the best team.
AP still has Georgia, but the coaches poll has, and the CBS poll has Ohio State. Tennessee minus 12.5. I'm going to roll with that team. I don't think they're going to throw up in the 40s. I don't think Kentucky. They do have a good team. They're going to have to try to run the ball and keep the ball away from Tennessee. Like you said, they got exposed. You got to watch it. It might be a trap game for Tennessee because they might be looking ahead to Georgia. I see Kentucky not being able to keep up with that high-powered offense. Like you said, Hooker's 2-1 on the Heisman, and I think he's going to show up again. The Orange, or just they're at home. I say that they're going to be able to get it done. Continue to roll with Tennessee. They're the hot hand. Okay, Texas Tech and Baylor. I like Texas Tech at home. They play very good at home. They're 4-0 at home, and they're 0-3 on the road. They're back at home. Baylor just came off a pretty big win over Kansas, but I don't think you can compare Kansas' offense to Texas Tech's offense right now. Texas Tech beat Texas, and I don't think they'll have any problem with Baylor.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a really good game.
It'll be a great game. Oklahoma and Iowa State. I like the under 56. Iowa State is only giving up 15 points a game. And I think Oklahoma, it's hard to bet against that kid Gabriel out there. Dylan Gabriel is a great quarterback. You can see the difference when he came in against Kansas and threw
massive difference.
But I think the game will stay low. I think that they'll play each other. I looked at 56 is way too many points. Iowa State probably won't even get into the 20s. I like the 56.
Okay.
Dylan Gabriel has 13 touchdowns and 1 interception, and Hunter Decker, the quarterback for Iowa State, has 13 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. So the turnover is going to be big on that. I like that to stay under. And my final one, I can't get away from the Michigan State. Michigan State DBs are horrible. Ohio State torched them. Washington and Michael Penix torched them. I say J.J. McCarthy. They're gonna be at the big house. I'm gonna drop the 22.5. I'm gonna think they get a pretty substantial win. That's tough to do in a division game, but if I had to bet one way or another, I'm gonna take the tough games. Not like some of the other networks. I'll take the games that are on TV, the game that we're watching. I think Michigan rolls on to 8-0.
Yeah, that is a bigger rivalry for Michigan State than is Michigan. Obviously, Michigan and Ohio State have the huge one, but nonetheless, Michigan State just doesn't look that good.
They don't. Their defensive backs are horrid. Maybe they can make some coaching changes back there and try to help them out. I mean, like the Alabama, Nick Saban made a great change, and when he played against Mississippi State, they got torched against Tennessee, and he put 5 in the box, played 5 and 6 in the box, and they were able still to control the line of scrimmage. Mississippi didn't score till very, very end of the game. That was a great coaching. You've seen how Nick Saban, he coaches up every week. They lose, they come back. So I'm going to stick with those picks. Those are the Big Rich picks of the week.
Okay. Well, my picks last week went 1-1. I was going to just take Oklahoma State, who won and covered against Texas, but after our little conversation during the show, I also took Mississippi State. But if you told me that Alabama was going to end up with 30 points, I would have said Mississippi State would have covered that.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, they did win for
24 or whatever.
They weren't kicking the field goals for sure.
21-point spread, and they lost by 24.
Right. But you got to look at that third down efficiency. They couldn't get the ball done. There's a lot of drop balls, and if you don't execute, you're not going to be able to win against Nick Saban, especially when he's 4 for 4 in the red zone, and they didn't turn the ball over once.
Okay. Well, my one pick, Syracuse. You already told everybody everything about it. Love them at home against Notre Dame. That looks like an easy one. Notre Dame looks terrible. One of the worst Notre Dame teams I've seen in a long time.
Right.
And Syracuse in the Dome. I really like that. So we do have to talk some baseball, right? I mean, the World Series begins Friday. What's the news?
Well, you got their numbers for us, Gator, on the betting on the?
No, the big news that I was looking at and it's always this time of year, is Mattress Mac, of course, and that's the only thing that was really on the news. I guess betting wise, I guess I would go with Houston. In my heart, I'm going to be rooting for Philly because I do like the underdogs. That's just how I am. But
let's talk about how they got there, Gator. I mean, what about the shot heard about the world?
Yeah.
Bryce Harper comes up in the 8th inning. Everybody was packing their bags going back to San Diego for game 6. And what does he do? Hits a home run in the 8th inning with 2 strikes. He probably threw about 10 pitches to Bryce Harper. He kept fouling him off, and finally he got one he can hit over the left field fence. He took it the other way. I mean, Bryce Harper and the Phillies are hot. But is there a hotter team than the Phillies? Well, maybe the Astros.
Yeah, they are.
So I'll give you guys a sink or swim.
Okay.
All right. So sink or swim, and we're going to call Houston Mr. October because they are playing great in October. Are they 12-0 in the month of October?
Well, I know they're 7-0 in the playoffs, and I'm going to say they probably are. I'm going to say swim on that one.
Swim.
You guys are both sinking on this. How could you guys not know? They played the Phillies October 2nd, and who pitched? Nola pitched 6 2/3 scoreless innings with 9 strikeouts. And they beat them 3-0, but that's their only loss. So they are 11-1. That's still pretty good. They are 11-1, but Nola did beat them, and Nola is the game 1 starter on Friday. So they went with Nola over Wheeler. And so
I guess
that's
that
gonna
makes
be,
sense, though.
And then he's going to go against Verlander.
Now, let me ask you, Big Richard, are you worried about the layoff on the Philly side?
I think they both played on Sunday, so they're both going to have a little bit of time. But you're right. Teams are hot, but they're both hot.
Well, yeah, so they're both going to get cold off?
I don't think so. I think they're both going to play. I'm saying this game will probably go 6 or 7. Zach Wheeler, his ERA in the postseason is 1.78 with a 25-3 strikeout walk ratio. And you look at Sir Anthony Dominguez, the reliever, has an ERA of 0.39 in the postseason with a 15-0 strikeout to walk ratio. So they definitely have the closer, but Houston has just as much good pitching. They have Valdez, and they have Justin Verlander starting, and it's hard to bet against Verlander. But if I had a bet, I'm going to bet on Philadelphia. I say Philadelphia wins it in 6.
Okay. Well, you're picking Philadelphia?
I'm picking Philly. I'm going against
I'm kind of shocked.
I'm with the hot team. I'm going with the hot team. Yeah, I know you had Houston winning it all, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I got Houston winning it all. After Atlanta lost, I had Houston winning it all. But when you compare the teams, Houston on paper, easily the favorite. They haven't lost any of their playoff games. You got the managing Dusty Baker, who's been around a while. Actually, this is his 3rd World Series that he's been managing. He won one as a player. Philly, you got 9-2 in the playoffs. Not too shabby, but not undefeated. They've been in 7 World Series. They won
actually,
2 of them.
They did play a tie because one game went to 18 innings against Seattle, so they had 18 innings of well, there was 2 baseball games. There's 9 innings. That's 2 games right there. And, so they got 1 tie in there. I'm going to give them a half a win. Half a win for going 18 innings without giving up a run.
Their manager, obviously never been in a World Series, Rob Thompson. So that's a very good trivia question. Who is the Phillies manager? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Well, we knew who it was when the season started, but he got replaced halfway through.
Right. And big contrast, these playoff teams, Houston had the 2nd most wins in the regular season. Philly had the least wins of the playoff teams. That 19-game difference they had, the 2nd largest difference since 1906.
Yeah.
So
that was the Chicago Cubs, I think.
Yeah, Cubs and White Sox.
Right. Wow.
So, according to our correspondent, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon, we got some stats. Philly has the advantage at first base, catcher, and designated hitter, and Houston has the advantage at every other position.
You're telling me the relief pitching? I mean, you're really going against Sir. A guy named Sir Anthony. You have to call him Sir when you talk to him. You're going to go against that. You think the bullpen is better, and I don't know about Rockin' Ronnie.
Yeah.
I'm the bullpen. I'm telling you, I think the pitching, you got Zach Wheeler and you got Nola both going to pitch 2 games, so there's 4 games right there that they can win.
Yeah. Maybe it's kind of like even where there's no advantage in some of those positions.
Okay, well,
I should clarify that.
Give the Philly fanatic a little credit.
Now we do have
we have a better mascot for sure.
It is, well, for sure. He doesn't carry around a trash can either. But it's a 2-3-2 series, right?
Exactly.
So Philly will be home for games 3, 4, and 5, assuming there is a 5th game. So that leans me towards Houston in 6. I think Houston wins the 3 home games they play, and Philly wins 2 out of 3 at home. That's the way I look at it. Houston, of course, is a -190. Not a lot of money you can win there. The money, I guess, should have been done earlier. They had this exacta sheet back on my birthday, October 5th. Houston to beat Philly was 90-1, and Philly to beat Houston was 100-1 on the exacta sheet. So anybody who has that, congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Yes. And odds also are available, for World Series MVP, total number of games in the series. There's a couple other ones, so there's stuff to bet for sure.
There's a lot of prop bets out there.
Okay. So Gator, any interesting news from the National Hockey League?
Okay, well, first off, Joe, last week I went 4-6.
Uh-oh.
So, but put us at what, 66%?
You're still 66% for
Did anybody take that $20 bet that they could beat the Gator? I mean, I think you were throwing that out there last week, Gator. But you were you would give $20. Anybody could show you a better picks than yours on a bet.
Well, let me tell you, a few of those were at a -300, -260. So I would think that a lot of the people that would out there would bet the Saints would have bet with me.
I think the Avalanche got you on one of those games.
Mm-hmm, exactly, and the Sharks did beat. The Sharks did beat the Rangers in.
Well, they got to win one game.
Okay. Well, anyways, Joe was asking me about news, so let's go with the news here. Biggest news last night was in Vegas. Phil Kelsey got
Phil Kessel?
Kessel.
Yeah.
He got his 990th game. He's the Iron Man now, Joe.
Consecutive games.
And you know what? He also got his 400th goal in that game too, so that was pretty awesome. And he's a great player, Joe. He's 35 years old, and he's not slowing down.
Okay.
Not even close. Okay, so what else do we got? Well, this is the story I've been following because we're talking about Almec and Swayman on Boston, and we're talking about the goalies. I think Swayman's going to win that there, Joe.
Okay.
He's got a .968. He's played in 6 games, 4.5 really, and he's won every one of them.
So yeah, well, there is a controversy there, I guess, but it's good to have 2 goaltenders. It's a long season.
Now let's go to hot and not.
Hot not?
Let's start with not.
Who's not hot?
Okay, Vancouver.
All right.
0-7, Joe.
Wow, that's about as cold as you can get.
Well,
That's like the Broncos.
Here's the thing with them guys. They had the lead in the first 5 games and lost. And then they go home. So you think, okay, we're finally home. We're going to kick. Oh, heck no. They lose 5-1 at home to Buffalo. And then they lose 3-2 in a better game Monday against Carolina. So I'm thinking that their first win might come against Seattle on
You would
Thursday.
think?
No. I think
You're
Seattle.
the Kraken already bit you once on the Avalanche game.
The Kraken are just cracking it.
Okay.
All
All right, so let's go. Let's run through these cold ones. Let's go Nashville, right? Nashville went to Czech Republic and won 2 games. Well, they're 0-5 after that.
They should have
They
stayed
can
there.
only win on foreign soil.
I
Or
guess
foreign
they
ice.
would.
Foreign ice,
Foreign
Joe.
ice.
So
Anaheim.
Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate it.
kind of hard to say that.
Any time, Big Rich.
Anaheim's 1-5. Okay, so let's go to who's hot. Well, Boston 6-1. They're hot.
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
Vegas 6-2, and they got a goalie thingy going on too over there with Thompson and Heel. And Calgary's 5-1. That's the team I picked to go all the way.
Yeah.
Here's the shocker: Chicago 4-2. That's a shock, and Ottawa's 4-2. Not as a shock as Chicago, but Chicago shocks me.
So we're going to expect them to cool off a little bit, I would assume. But you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we want to do picks for next
Well,
week.
let's get some picks for
Get
next
some
week.
picks in there.
You're
Make some
gonna-
money.
I know you're going to improve this week.
I sure hope so.
I know so.
Okay, let's go Thursday. I got Edmonton at Chicago.
Okay.
Oh.
So they're not going to win that one. Edmonton's too strong.
All right.
Toronto's over San Jose at San Jose. Then I have 2 on Friday. I got Vegas over the Ducks, and I have Carolina over the Islanders. Saturday, I have just the 1 game. Now this was pretty tough. St. Louis over Montreal. Montreal's kind of scary. I don't think they're that great of a team, but as soon as I say that, I lose.
Right.
Now, Sunday, I have 3 games. I got Toronto over Anaheim, the Rangers over Arizona, and Vegas over Winnipeg. And Tuesday, I have 2 games. I have New Jersey over Vancouver, and that is at Vancouver, and Tampa Bay over Ottawa.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes. That was like 10 picks, approximately. 10
Yes,
picks.
sir.
Okay.
10 picks.
Yeah, we'll get those on the site because I know there was a lot of picks coming out there, but I definitely like the one on Friday. There's 2 on Friday.
Okay. So, Gator, what happened in NASCAR at Miami last Sunday in the Dixie Vodka 400?
Good name, huh? Well, Bubba Wallace was suspended for this race, Joe. You remember when you hooked Kyle Larson last week in Vegas? So John Hunter Nemechek, he replaced Bubba, and he did finish 27th. But Kyle Larson did finish and as the winner, and he was at 8-1. And his 3rd win of the year. He is out of the championship race for the drivers, but Hendricks Motorsports are in the mix for the Owners' Championship. Now, it wasn't exactly close at the end. Larson beat Ross Chastain by 1.26 seconds. But, Joe, the most exciting thing that happened here was that Martin Truex was coming down pit road during a late caution. Now, the sun was in Martin's eyes, and he almost missed his pitch box. But when he slowed down to turn, Larson tapped him in the back. of the car, Joe, and then that spun him about 180 degrees, and he landed perfectly, Joe, perfectly in his box, backwards. Perfectly.
So
I couldn't
does Larson
believe it.
Does Larson get an assist for that?
You should have.
But do they get to work on the car even though it's backwards like that, or did he?
How do you come out? How do you come out when you're backwards?
Or
Do you have to go the other
spin
way?
it back around again?
Back around. I'm
Yeah,
not
he probably-
sure, but whatever happened, Joe, he finished sixth.
Well,
Yeah,
this
they
is
did
what
well.
Gator. Is this true? Being our NASCAR, that they were on the radio saying the guy behind him, which was probably who came
Larson.
second? They were saying it was Bubba Wallace, and he was going to kick his ass if he could catch him. So is that why he was
Bubba
pulling out?
wasn't in there.
Bubba wasn't, but they were telling him it was him, and he was afraid, so he thought he was going to get pushed again. So he I don't know. Maybe sorry, but anyway. But.
Well, there can't be too many races left. We're almost done, right? Like maybe 2 or 3. Two.
Okay. Well-
I don't know. The next race is at Martinsville Sunday. I know that.
Yeah, next race is at Martinsville Sunday at 11 o'clock on NBC, and William Byron won back in April, and that was the night race, Joe. But Alex Bowman won the day race, and I'm going to go with the Fords. Ryan Blaney.
Brian Blaney. Huh?
He has nothing to lose. He has to win to be in Phoenix, and I think you're going to have to go with him or Bell or Briscoe or.
Who's left in the series there?
Okay, well, Logano's in for sure. But then on points, we have Ross Chastain.
Which came in second last week.
Yeah, and he is second in points. But like I said, Logano's in. So Chastain's highest in points right now. And Elliott is next. Byron's next. Hamlin is on the cut line. He would be out. He's 19 points behind the leader and 5 points behind the cut line. And Ryan Blaney's 32 points behind the leader, and Bell's 43 points behind the leader.
I thought Bell got eliminated already.
Now he's seventh.
Okay.
Is this cut week right here?
Yes.
Only
No. We have 3 races left. 2 races, 1 race left. We only have 2 races left.
Oh, so this is it. So we're going to have our final 4 set after this weekend.
Yep.
Okay. So
Get confused with Formula
right.
One.
yeah, well, what occurred in
Formula One
what
has
occurred
3
in
races.
Formula One? The United States Grand Prix,
Okay.
Circuit of Americas, Austin, Texas. Supposed to be this great race.
Yeah, okay. Well, Max Verstappen won the race, and he had already won the championship. Kind of sounds like the NASCAR. But this gave the Red Bull the Constructor Championships as well. And that does end Mercedes' run of 8 straight titles. And that is when the Formula One switched over to those turbo hybrids, Joe, those engines.
Yeah.
But the driver's title is more famous the driver's title is more famous, but the Constructor Series is worth more money.
Yeah.
So, however you want to look at it, they're both prestigious in my eyes, don't matter. But Red Bull did win the previous 4 years before Mercedes dominated. Now, the race saw Carlos Sainz, Ferrari, starting on pole, but George Russell on the first turn spun Carlos and shortly retired after that on lap 22 because of a water leakage, because of that spin. Right. And then Alonso and Lance Stroll had a terrifying collision that sent Stroll's Alpine airborne. Max Verstappen finished first on the race, and then Lewis Hamilton got second, and Carlos Leclerc's Ferrari got third.
Verstappen, minus 240.
Mm-hmm.
No money there. But
No money there.
that was the 13th win of the year. That tied a record.
Exactly, it sure did. So if he can get one more, he'll have it.
He'll have the record for all to himself.
Right, now this next race is in Mexico, Joe, and
Sunday.
Right, exactly. And we have 3 races left. That's why I got confused when he was asking about NASCAR. But Max won the last year, and I'm going to take a chance with Lewis Hamilton. He does pretty good on this track, and he's 10-1, Joe. He's double digits. They seem to be hitting.
Well, there's usually no stopping Verstappen, right? So how can you bet against him? But he does need one more for the record.
Sure.
Yeah, so he has something definitely to race for.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any news in the NBA. It's very early in the season, but
well, how's that 4-0? Who's Portland's 4-0 or 3-0? And Portland's
yeah, Portland.
Trailblazers surprising.
I guess their odds went down big time.
And what about last night? Phoenix beat Golden State.
All right.
Booker came back and got it.
And, well, my Lakers are terrible. I know that.
Well, the Lakers are 0-3, but they're still at 16-1.
Shocking.
And that hasn't changed. But the one that's shocking is the Blazers are at 4-0, and they were at 125, and now down 90-1.
And the news came out that the NBA and the Referee Association and the Players Association all agreed to have better sportsmanship.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. And what's his name? Green's going to be in charge of it.
Okay.
Javon Green's going to be in charge of it. He's going to be the president of sportsmanship.
Okay.
And we should mention we will have a Breeders' Cup preview next week, and Lady Gator is going to have a lot to do with that. And of course, we love our horse racing. But now it's time that we go to that point of the show where we talk about things. We made bets that we're for sure we're going to hit, that we're going to win, but in the end something went terribly wrong and they ended up being losers. The segment we call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So Gator, do you have a You Got Hosed story for this week?
Okay, well, this week, my You Got Hosed story comes from my son, Zach. And a lot of our listeners know who he is. But he is an excellent bowler. He's been bowling his whole life, and he's on 2 different leagues. Well, Saturday, he was 1 frame away from a 300 game. And, well, right before it was his turn, he handed the cell phone to his buddy and said, and I quote, "I'm probably going to regret this, but record it anyways."
Jeez.
So what does Zach do? He throws the ball light. The ball hooks a little bit early, hits the head pin a little bit high. He leaves the 3-6. He gets a 298. Now, it's not all bad, Joe, because back in 2016, he did get his 300, so it's not like his first one.
Did he film it?
Yeah, he filmed it.
Okay, good.
But so anyways, Joe, Zach,
You got hosed.
well, Zach, you son of a gator, you got hosed.
He hosed himself.
He hosed himself.
Well, I would have to say the only thing I got hosed on was the Miami-Pittsburgh game. I mean, they're up by 6 at halftime. He hit the first half. Went to the second half, and nobody scores. I mean, come on, could you give me a field goal? Cover that 6.5, the hook.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Tua.
Yeah, I agree with you. You got hosed, buddy.
If I would have got one more field goal in that Cleveland game, I would have had a 5-teamer. But that's not really my You Got Hosed story. It's that. What's the channel we've learned to hate? KOLO, Channel 8 in Reno. Struck again.
Yeah,
the Clemson-Syracuse game. I have it on my DirecTV. Syracuse is up 21-7. I can tell because all the other channels are showing the score, but I can't see the game on Channel 8.
Can you please not cover any more NBA, hockey, or any
college football?
Yeah, can we just go somewhere else?
Go somewhere else, please.
Can we stream it?
Yes.
You got hosed.
So, that's it for the show. I'd like to thank Gator Gates,
Thank you, Joe.
Big Richard Martin, our producer Cornelius, and all you listeners out there. Next week, we're going to have our Breeders' Cup preview. That's going to be really interesting. Lady Gator will be a big part of that. Her article will be on the website. In case you miss our picks, we'll have it on the website also. And we thank all you listeners out there. And next week, we look forward to bringing you another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field. Email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com for all your comments or questions. Find us on Twitter @CoveringField. And of course, always check out the website for our picks of the week and updated articles. coveringthefield.com.